The stars were quiet that night. Lieutenant Minho Baek sat alone in the communications room of Earth Orbital Command. His job was simple. He listened to the void. Most nights, he heard nothing but static and the distant hum of dead stars. But tonight was different. A sound came through his headset. It was weak, broken, and wrapped in static, but it was there. Minho sat up straight and adjusted his equipment. The sound grew clearer. It was not random noise. It was a pattern, a message. Someone, somewhere, in the vast darkness of space, was calling for help. Minho worked quickly. He ran the signal through the translation systems. Humanity had only been traveling among the stars for 200 years. They were still new to the galaxy, but they had found things out there. Old ships, dead stations, ancient languages carved into metal walls. They had learned to read some of those languages. The message decoded slowly. Word by word, it appeared on his screen. This is Elder Viss of the Pelori people. Our homeworld has fallen. The Dravak have taken everything. We are the last. 2 million souls hiding in the Veth Nebula. They will find us soon. We will not survive. If anyone hears this, please, we beg you, help us. Minho read the message 3 times. His hands were shaking. He had never heard of the Pelori. He had never heard of the Dravak. But he understood fear. The message was soaked in it. He sent the recording to his commander immediately. Admiral Teho Kwan was a man of 53 years. He had gray hair, calm eyes, and a reputation that stretched across the colonies. He had fought in the Mars Rebellion. He had led the rescue at Titan Station. He had never lost a battle he chose to fight. And he never ignored a call for help. Teho listened to the message in silence. His officers stood around him, waiting. The room was tense. The signal was not meant for us, said one officer. It mentions the architects. That is a species that died out thousands of years ago. The Pelori were calling for ghosts, but the ghosts did not answer, Teho said quietly. We did. He stood and walked to the window. Earth hung below them, blue and green, and wrapped in clouds. Humanity's home. A world of fire and ice, storms and earthquakes, predators and war. Humans had clawed their way out of caves and into the stars. They had survived everything their planet threw at them. Other species called Earth a death world. They called humans Deathworlders. They meant it as a warning. Humans were dangerous. Humans were survivors. Humans did not quit. Teho turned back to his officers. What do we know about the Dravak? Not much, sir. They control the southern arm of the galaxy. They have conquered at least 40 species. They take what they want and destroy what they do not need. No one has ever stopped them. How far is the Veth Nebula? 3 weeks, at maximum speed. Teho nodded slowly. And how many ships can we gather in 48 hours? The room went silent. Everyone understood what he was asking. Sir, said Captain Unipark, stepping forward. She was younger than the others, but her eyes were sharp and her voice was steady. We do not know these Pelori. We do not owe them anything. This could be a trap. This could be suicide. Teho looked at her. Do you believe it is a trap? Una paused. She thought about the message. The fear in it. The desperation. No, sir. I believe it is real. Then we go. But the Dravak have never met humans. Teho's voice was calm but firm. They have conquered species that gave up. Species that ran. Species that begged. They have never faced a species that came from a death world. They have never faced us. He looked around the room. I am not ordering anyone to come. This mission is voluntary. But I am going. And I am taking every ship that will follow me. No one moved. No one spoke. Then, one by one, every officer in the room nodded. Within 48 hours, the 7th Fleet was assembled. 200 warships, 50 carrier groups, 15,000 Marines. It was the largest armada humanity had ever launched, and it was flying into the unknown. Minho stood on the observation deck of the command ship as the fleet prepared to jump. He still could not believe what was happening. One signal, one desperate cry from a species they had never met, and humanity was answering with everything it had. Admiral Tejo stood beside him. "You found the signal, Lieutenant. How do you feel?" Minho thought about it. "Scared, sir. But also proud. Some. And, sir," Tejo smiled slightly. "That is the right answer. Fear keeps us sharp. Pride keeps us moving." He looked out at the fleet. Hundreds of ships glowing against the darkness. Somewhere out there, 2 million people are waiting to die. They do not know we are coming. They do not know we exist. But we heard them. And that is enough. The fleet jumped into faster-than-light travel. The stars blurred and stretched. Earth disappeared behind them. Humanity was going to war. Not for land. Not for resources. Not for power. They were going because someone had asked for help. And humans always answered. Elder Viss had not slept in 4 days. He stood in the observation dome of the colony's last shelter and watched the stars. Somewhere out there, death was coming. The Dravok hunting fleets were searching for them. It was only a matter of time. 2 million Pelori lived in this colony. They were all that remained of a civilization that once spread across 12 worlds. The Dravok had taken everything. The cities. The libraries. The children. Now, the survivors huddled in the darkness of the Veth Nebula, waiting for the end. Viss was old. His blue-gray skin had faded with age. His large, dark eyes were tired. He had been a teacher once. He had taught young Pelori about art and music and the beauty of the universe. Now he was a leader of refugees. Now he sent distress signals into the void, hoping for miracles that would never come. The Pelori were not fighters. They were small and fragile. Their bones were hollow. Their bodies were built for swimming in the warm oceans of their homeworld, not for war. When the Dravok came, the Pelori had tried to negotiate. They had offered peace. They had offered friendship. The Dravok had laughed and started killing. Viss closed his eyes. He had accepted death. He only wished it would come quickly. Then the alarm started screaming. Viss rushed to the control room. Pelori technicians were running everywhere, their voices high with panic. "Ships! Ships incoming! Multiple contacts! The Dravok?" Viss asked, his heart sinking. "Unknown, Elder. The signatures do not match Dravok vessels." Viss stared at the screen. Dozens of ships were emerging from faster-than-light travel. They were strange, angular, covered in markings he did not recognize. They were not Dravok. But what were they? A communication signal came through. A voice spoke in broken galactic standard. "This is Captain Una Park of the United Earth Navy vessel Ironwill. We received your distress signal. We are here to help. Please respond." 1. The room went silent. Viss could not move, could not breathe. Someone had answered. After all this time, someone had answered. "Elder," a technician whispered. "What do we do?" Viss found his voice. "Open a channel." He spoke carefully into the communicator. "This is Elder Viss of the Pelori people. We did not expect anyone to come. Who are you? What is Earth?" There was a pause. Then the voice returned, softer this time. "We are humans. We come from a planet called Earth, very far from here. We heard your message. We came as fast as we could. May we land?" "We want to help." Viss looked around at his people. They were terrified, but they were also hopeful. He had not seen hope in their eyes for a very long time. "Yes," he said. The human shuttle touched down in the colony's main courtyard. Hundreds of Pelori gathered to watch, keeping their distance. When the door opened and the humans stepped out, a wave of fear rippled through the crowd. The humans were tall, much taller than Pelori. Their bodies were dense and solid. Their eyes faced forward like predators. They moved with a confidence that spoke of strength and danger. Everything about them screamed hunter. Vis forced himself to step forward. He was shaking. Captain Una Park walked toward him. She was a woman with dark hair and sharp eyes. She wore a gray uniform covered in medals. She looked dangerous. But when she stopped in front of Vis, she did something unexpected. She knelt down. She lowered herself to his level and looked into his eyes. "Elder Vis," she said gently. "I know we look frightening. I know we are strangers. But we did not come to hurt you. We came because you called for help. That is all." Vis stared at her. In his long life, he had met many species. Most of them cared only for themselves. They took what they wanted and left the weak to die. That was how the galaxy worked. But this human had come from across the stars. She had brought warships and soldiers, and she was kneeling before him like a friend. "Why?" Vis asked, his voice breaking. "You do not know us. We have nothing to give you. Why would you risk your lives for strangers?" Una smiled. It was a strange smile. There was something fierce in it, something predatory, but also something warm. "Because that is what humans do," she said. "We help. It is in our nature. But the Dravac will come. They are strong. They can try." Una stood and gestured to her soldiers. They began unloading supplies from the shuttle. Food, medicine, weapons, machines that Vis did not recognize. "We have 200 warships waiting in orbit," Una said. 15,000 soldiers ready to fight. We did not come here to run, Elder. We came here to stand with you." Vis felt tears forming in his eyes. He had spent so long preparing for death. He had forgotten what hope felt like. "The Drevak have never lost a war," he said quietly. Una looked up at the sky. Her eyes were hard now. The predator in her was showing. Then this will be their first time. Around them, human soldiers moved with purpose. They set up defensive positions. They scanned the area. They worked alongside the Pelori technicians, learning their systems, sharing their knowledge. Vis watched it all in wonder. These Deathworlders, these hunters from a violent planet, had crossed the galaxy to protect strangers. It made no sense. It went against everything he knew about the universe, but it was real. They were here. And for the first time in months, Vis believed they might survive. He looked at Una and spoke the only words that mattered. "Thank you." Una nodded. "Save your thanks, Elder. The fight has not started yet." She turned and walked toward her soldiers, already giving orders. The Dravac were coming. But now, they would find something waiting for them. They would find humans. Warlord Krath stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Bone Crusher. He was massive. His scaled skin was dark green, almost black. His eyes glowed yellow in the dim light. 4 arms hung at his sides, each one ending in claws that could tear through metal. The Dravac were born for war. Their homeworld was a violent place of constant storms and hungry predators. Only the strong survived. The weak were food. This was the way of things. This was the natural order. Krath had conquered 23 species himself. He had burned their cities and taken their people. Some became slaves. Some became examples. The galaxy knew his name and trembled. Now he was hunting the Pelori. The last of them. They had run like frightened animals, hiding in the Veth Nebula. Krath found this amusing. There was nowhere to hide from the Dravac. There was only death, coming slowly or quickly. "Warlord," said his second officer. "We are approaching the nebula. Long-range scans detect the Pelori colony." "Good," Krath rumbled. "How many ships do they have?" "Krath, None, warlord. They are defenseless. Krath smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. Then this will be quick. Move the fleet into attack formation. I want the colony surrounded before. Warlord, we are detecting other vessels. Krath's smile faded. What vessels? Unknown design. They are positioned between us and the colony. Approximately 200 ships. 200 ships. Krath's fleet numbered over 500. The odds were still in his favor. But who were these strangers? No species in this region had 200 warships. No species would be foolish enough to challenge the Dravak. Open a channel, Krath ordered. The view screen flickered. A face appeared. It was strange. Soft skin, forward-facing eyes, dark hair. The creature wore a gray uniform and sat calmly in a command chair. Behind it, other creatures moved with purpose. Unknown vessels. Krath growled. You interfere with Dravak business. Identify yourselves and withdraw, or you will be destroyed. The creature spoke. Its voice was calm, almost gentle. I am Admiral Teho Kwan of the United Earth Navy. This colony is under our protection. Any attack will be met with force. This is your only warning. Krath stared at the screen. He had never heard of Earth. He had never seen this species before. They looked weak, fragile. Their ships were small and strange. Protection? Krath laughed, and his crew laughed with him. You protect the Pelori? Those swimming insects? What are you to them? We are their friends, Admiral Teho replied simply. Friends. Krath spat the word like poison. There are no friends in the galaxy, only hunters and prey. And you, little creature, have made yourself prey. Admiral Teho did not flinch. He did not look away. His eyes stayed fixed on Krath's, and there was something in them that Krath did not expect. No fear. No hesitation. Just cold, quiet certainty. You asked what we are. Admiral Teho said. Let me tell you. We are human. We come from a world called Earth. Our planet tried to kill us every day of our existence. Earthquakes shook our cities. Storms drowned our shores. Ice covered our lands. Predators hunted us in the dark. Disease swept through our people like fire. He paused. And we survived. Every time. We did not run. We did not surrender. We fought. We adapted. We conquered our own world before we reached for the stars. Krath said nothing. He was listening now. Your species has won many wars, Admiral Teho continued. You have crushed the weak and the fearful, but you have never faced Deathworlders. You have never faced a species that was forged in suffering and came out stronger. You have never faced us. The bridge was silent. Krath's crew watched their leader, waiting for his response. Krath leaned forward. Bold words. But words do not win battles. You are outnumbered. Your ships are inferior. What makes you think you can stand against the Dravak Empire? 1. Admiral Teho smiled. It was a small smile, but it sent a strange chill through Krath's body. Because we have something you do not understand, Admiral Teho said. We have something to protect. And humans who have something to protect do not lose. He straightened in his chair. I have given you my warning, Warlord. You may retreat now, and we will not pursue. Continue your attack, and we will destroy you. The choice is yours. The channel closed. Krath stared at the empty screen. His claws dug into the armrests of his chair. Rage burned in his chest. No one spoke to a Dravak warlord this way. No one threatened the Empire, and lived. Warlord? His second officer asked carefully. Your orders? Krath stood. He was the tallest being on the bridge. A mountain of muscle and scale and fury. All ships, he commanded. Attack formation. Target the human fleet first. Kill them all. The Dravak Armada moved forward. 500 warships, bristling with weapons, hungry for blood. They had crushed 40 species. They would crush the 41st. But as the fleets closed the distance, something strange happened. The human ships did not retreat. They did not scatter. They did not show any sign of fear. Instead, they moved forward to meet the Dravak. Admiral Tejo's voice came over the fleet-wide channel. It was calm and steady. All ships. This is Admiral Kwan. Hold formation. Wait for my signal. Remember what we are fighting for. Remember who is counting on us. And remember who we are. He paused. We are human. We do not break. We do not run. We do not fail. The first shots were fired. The Battle of Veth had begun. The void exploded with fire. Dravak weapons lashed out across the darkness. Green beams of energy cut through space. Missiles screamed toward the human fleet. The first wave of destruction was meant to break the defenders, to shatter their formation, and send them running like every species before them. But the humans did not run. Captain Una Park gripped the arms of her command chair as the iron will shook from a near miss. Around her crew worked with calm focus. Damage reports came in. Orders went out. The ship moved like a living thing, dodging and weaving through the enemy fire. Helm, bring us around, Una commanded. Target the lead cruiser. Fire all forward batteries. The Iron Will's guns roared. Blue fire streaked across the void and slammed into the Dravak cruiser. The enemy ship's shields flickered and died. A second volley tore through its hull. Explosions bloomed along its length, and then it broke apart in a shower of metal and flame. First blood. Admiral Tejo watched the battle from his command ship, the Hammer of Dawn. His eyes moved across the tactical display, tracking hundreds of ships locked in deadly combat. The Dravak had numbers. They had firepower. But they fought like individuals, each ship trying to prove its own strength. Humans fought differently. They fought as one. Third Squadron, swing left and flank their carriers, Tejo ordered. Fifth Squadron, draw their destroyers into the nebula. Use the gas clouds for cover. His commanders obeyed instantly. Human ships moved in perfect coordination, each one knowing its role, trusting the others to do theirs. It was not just training. It was something deeper, something the Dravak could not understand. Warlord Krath watched his ships die and felt something he had never felt before. Confusion. His forces outnumbered the humans. His weapons were powerful. His warriors were fierce. But the battle was not going as expected. The humans were too fast, too coordinated. They did not waste shots. They did not panic. They fought like predators who had spent their entire existence learning to survive against impossible odds. Because they had. Push forward, Krath roared. Overwhelm them. They are only 200 ships. His fleet surged forward. And then, the boarding pods launched. Sergeant Hannah Gill felt the impact as her pod slammed into the side of a Dravak command ship. The metal screamed. Sparks flew. Then the cutting charges fired, and a hole opened into the enemy vessel. Gravehounds, move! She shouted. Her team poured through the breach. 12 Marines in heavy combat armor, each one trained for exactly this kind of mission. They hit the Dravak defenders before the aliens knew what was happening. The Dravak were big, strong, terrifying. Their claws could cut through steel. Their scales could stop bullets. But humans had faced predators before. Humans had learned to kill things bigger and stronger than themselves. It was how they survived. Hannah moved through the enemy ship like a storm. Her rifle spat fire. Her blade cut flesh. The Dravak fought back with savage fury, but they were not prepared for this. They were used to enemies who cowered, enemies who begged. Humans did not beg. One Dravak warrior charged at Hannah, all 4 arms swinging. She ducked under the first blow, blocked the second with her armored forearm, and drove her knife up into the soft spot under the alien's jaw. The Dravak fell. She stepped over the body and kept moving. Bridges ahead. one of her team reported. Then we take it, Hana replied. They reached the bridge in 7 minutes. The Dravok commander died in 12 seconds. Hana stood over his body, breathing hard, covered in alien blood. Command ship secured, she reported into her communicator. Moving to the next target. Across the battlefield, similar scenes played out. Human boarding teams cut through Dravok ships like knives through paper. The aliens had never experienced close combat with Deathworlders. They had never faced enemies who simply would not stop. Krath watched his command ships fall one by one. He watched his fleet scatter and break. He watched the humans push forward. Relentless, unstoppable. How? He whispered. How is this possible? He did not understand. The Dravok had always been the strongest. They had always won. But these humans, these soft-skinned creatures from a distant world, were tearing his armada apart. Admiral Tejo saw the moment the battle turned. The Dravok formation collapsed. Their coordination broke. Ships began to flee. All units, press the attack, he ordered. Do not let them regroup. End this now. The human fleet surged forward. What had started as a desperate defense became a devastating assault. Dravok ships exploded by the dozens. Their mighty armada, the terror of the galaxy, crumbled like ash in a fire. Krath's flagship took hit after hit. Fires burned on every deck. Bodies lay everywhere. His bridge crew was dead. He stood alone, watching his empire die. A human voice came over the communicator. It was Admiral Tejo, Warlord Krath. Your fleet is destroyed. Your ships are burning. You may surrender now, or you may die with them. Choose. Krath stared at the screen. His pride screamed at him to fight, to die with honor. But something else, something he had never felt before, whispered in his ear, fear. Withdraw, Krath said. The words tasted like poison. All remaining ships, retreat. We are leaving. The surviving Dravok vessels fled. Less than 200 remained of the 500 that had come. They jumped to faster-than-light speed and vanished into the darkness. The battle was over. Tejo leaned back in his chair. Around him, his crew erupted in cheers. They had won. Against all odds, against a superior force, they had won. But Tejo did not celebrate. He looked at the tactical display. 112 human ships had been destroyed. Thousands of his people were dead. Victory had a price. It always did. He opened a channel to the Pelori colony. Elder Viss's face appeared. Tears streaming down his blue-gray skin. Admiral, Viss said, his voice breaking. You did it. You saved us. You actually saved us. Tejo nodded slowly. We made a promise, Elder. Humans keep their promises. He looked out at the battlefield, at the wreckage of Dravok ships, drifting in the void. The Dravok will remember this day, he said quietly. And so will the galaxy. The Battle of Veth was over. But the war for the future had just begun. 6 months had passed since the Battle of Veth. The galaxy was different now. News of what happened had spread to every corner of known space. Species that had hidden in fear for centuries began to whisper about the impossible. A young species from a distant death world had faced the Dravok Empire and won. They had answered a distress signal from strangers and crossed the stars to fight for them. It was the kind of story that changed everything. Elder Viss stood on a hill overlooking the ruins of his people's old capital city on Pelora IV. The Dravok had burned it to the ground. But now, human machines moved through the wreckage. Human engineers worked alongside Pelori survivors, clearing debris, rebuilding homes. Life was returning to the homeworld. Behind him, a shuttle landed softly. Admiral Tejo Kwon stepped out, followed by Captain Yuna Park and Sergeant Hana Gill. They walked up the hill to join him. The last transport arrived this morning, Tejo said. All 2 million refugees are home. Viss closed his eyes. Home. He had never thought he would hear that word again. We owe you everything, Admiral. Our lives, our future, everything. End quote. You owe us nothing, Tejo replied. This is what we came for. They stood together in silence, watching the work below. Pelori children ran through the streets, laughing for the first time in years. Human soldiers handed out food and toys. The two species, so different in every way, worked side by side like old friends. Yuna looked at the scene and smiled. They were afraid of us at first. They thought we were predators. You are predators, Vis said softly. I have never seen anything fight like your soldiers. Your Sergeant Hana terrifies my people. Hana shrugged. I try to be friendly. Vis actually laughed. It was a strange sound, like water bubbling over stones. That is the great mystery, is it not? You are the most dangerous species I have ever encountered, and yet you are also the kindest. Tejo looked at the old alien. That is not a mystery, Elder. That is what makes us human. We know what it is to suffer. We know what it is to lose. So when we see others in pain, we cannot look away. We have to help. It is not a choice. It is who we are. Vis nodded slowly. I believe that now. But the rest of the galaxy does not understand. They hear the stories of the Battle of Veth, and they are afraid. They think humans will conquer them next. Let them think what they want, Tejo said. In time, they will see the truth. We did not come here to build an empire. We came because you needed us, and we will leave when you do not. You are leaving? Vis sounded almost disappointed. Not forever. But our work here is done. Your world is safe. Your people are rebuilding. You do not need an armada watching over you. Vis turned to face the Admiral fully. His large dark eyes were wet with emotion. Before you came, I had lost all hope. I was ready to die. I thought the universe was a cold and cruel place where the strong devoured the weak. But you showed me something different. You showed me that there is kindness in the darkness, that strangers can become family, that the strong can protect the weak instead of destroying them. He reached out and touched Tejo's hand. You changed my understanding of the universe, Admiral. You changed me. And you changed the galaxy. Tejo looked down at the small, fragile creature touching his hand. In that moment, he saw everything humanity was fighting for. Not power, not glory, just this: connection, compassion, the simple act of standing with someone who needed help. The galaxy will change more, Tejo said. Other species have already sent messages to Earth. They want to know if we will help them too, if we will protect them from the Dravok, from other threats. They are afraid, but they are also hopeful. And will you? Will you help them? Tejo looked at Yuna and Hana. They nodded. Yes, Tejo said. If they call, we will answer. That is the promise of humanity. That is our gift and our burden. We will never ignore a cry for help. Vis smiled. Then the galaxy is fortunate that you found that signal. We did not find it, Tejo said. Lieutenant Minho Bake found it. A young officer on a quiet night, listening to the void. He heard your voice, and he told us. One person made the difference. Tenet, one person can always make the difference. Vis agreed. That is something I will teach my people. That is something I will teach the galaxy. Below them, the sun began to set over the ruined capital. Golden light spread across the hills and the valleys, touching the old stones and the new buildings. Pelori and humans stopped their work and turned to watch. For a moment, everyone was still. Tejo took a deep breath. We should go, Elder. Our ships are waiting. But we will return. And if you ever need us again, you know how to reach us. Vis nodded. I will never forget what you have done. My people will never forget. 1,000 years from now, Pelori children will learn about the Deathworlders who came from the stars to save them. Your names will be remembered. We did not do this for memory, Yuna said. We did it because it was right. And that, Vis said, is why you will be remembered. They walked back to the shuttle together. Hana helped Vis down the rocky slope. Yuna pointed out the rebuilt structures in the distance. Tejo walked in silence, thinking about the future. As the shuttle lifted off, Vis stood alone on the hill, watching it rise into the sky. Other Pelori gathered around him, their eyes fixed on the departing ship. What happens now, Elder? A young Pelori asked. Vis watched the shuttle disappear into the clouds. Beyond those clouds, 200 human warships waited in orbit. Beyond those ships, a galaxy full of frightened species waited for hope. Now, Vis said softly, everything changes. He turned to face his people. We were saved by strangers. We were protected by predators. We were given a second chance by a species that had no reason to care about us. The universe is not as cold as we thought. There is light in the darkness. There is kindness in the void. He pointed up at the sky. And if we ever forget that, all we have to do is send a signal into the night. Because somewhere out there, the humans are listening. And they will always answer. The Pelori looked up at the stars together. Somewhere in the distance, the human fleet jumped to faster than light speed, leaving trails of light across the heavens. They were going home. But they would be back. They would always come back. Because that was who they were. That was what it meant to be human. The wrong signal had reached the wrong species, and the galaxy would never be the same.